Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here from Lazy Parenting, and we're coming to you live every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. and today's first Tuesday of August, so welcome.
Yes.
How are you, Dawn?
I'm tired. It was a long 4 days in Vegas.
So
I did not. Yes, I was away, but I did not stay out or anything. It's just when you're at conferences and you're learning and your brain is functioning on high for a solid 2 days, it gets you a little tired, burnt out. And it was hot. It was 108.
That is crazy hot.
It was like being in the sauna all the time.
Yeah.
So it was good.
Good.
Just tired. I have to come back home and do all my laundry and the kids' laundry because apparently nobody else in my house does laundry.
Welcome back to real world, right?
Yeah.
When you're a mom and you come back to the house, it's usually not ever as good as it was. Hi, Kelly.
Nope.
So we have people joining us on Facebook, and we have people joining us on Instagram. So if you're there, give us a shout, give us some hearts, give us a like so that we know you're there. I don't think on Facebook we can see the comments so well as we can on Instagram from Kelly. So just while we wait for people to hop on, we'll just fill you in on our weekend. So I was at swim provincials at
it wasn't provincials, regionals.
Sorry, you're right. I was at swim regionals with my 4 kids all swimming. Elizabeth also had basketball nationals. So her team came second. The other VK team played in the final against them, and they came first, the senior team, and then they're kind of like the little bit younger team. So it was fun. I went out and watched that. Went on an adventure with kids, took them to mini golf.
I saw that.
Took them to IHOP.
Oh,
I know. It was a random fun adventure we went on, and they had a lot of fun. Just the 2 little ones I took.
Was Nick at basketball?
No, he didn't want to come. So he stayed.
Oh, he missed out on IHOP.
So IHOP, missed out on McFlurries after.
Oh, wow, you went all out.
I did. It was good. We went mini golf. Yeah. Mini golf's fun with little kids.
Yeah.
As long as we had people behind us that were chasing us, kind of, so we had to go really fast. So that.
Couldn't you just let them go in front of you?
Well, but then there was multiple people. There was nobody there, and then 7 families all showed up at the same time.
Oh.
And we were in the front. So
that's hard.
Yeah. But it was fun. Fun times. So this week I posted, I'm going to get into it now because I see some people there. This week I posted a blog post about self-fulfilling prophecy and about how our words that we use or the things that we associate with our kids can have lasting effect.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the article?
Yes, it rang true a little bit.
So the first time I think that it came up to me was, as I say in the article, I talk about I was a parent. Actually, both were parents at a parent participation preschool here, which is a play-based preschool where the kids and the parents are very involved in the school. So whether it's being part of the executive, and then there's a monthly parent ed. I think it was monthly, right?
It was monthly.
Monthly parent ed where we would all come in on at 7 p.m. in an evening, and we would listen to a guest speaker talk about something. And one of these times someone came in and really talked about self-fulfilling prophecy with the children. So the words that we use, they asked us, if you were to think of a word to describe your child, what word might that be? And just because of this weekend and something that happened, which I'll tell you about in a second, I was thinking about Katie, and I'm thinking messy.
Yeah.
If you were asking me about a word to describe Katie, it would be messy. And I was calling, that word came up a lot this weekend because she once again lost her goggles at the swim meet. And then she found them later. Luckily, they were somewhere and she found them. But just this idea of her losing things because she tends to lose things or misplace them because they're not really lost. I say to her, they're just somewhere, you have to go find them. And this idea about the more that I call her messy or I tell her that she's messy, the more that word becomes ingrained in her brain as a word that she associates with herself. So she's associating herself being messy. I'm just going to move this a little bit. And that's a problem, right? I'm instilling upon her a word that I have created around her that she then can live up to by being messy. Or I don't know if you have a word that you think of with your children.
I was trying to think. There is a word I use, but I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. Something to do with them being slow, taking forever. I just can't think of what the word is, but I'll use it on them when I'm frustrated in the morning when we're trying to go to school and being slow. It's for the 2 boys. And so, you kind of forget these things until you think of them, that that's
Well,
what they're going to
I think that's part of it, right? I think one of the things that I've tried really hard to do over the last few years is that on us as ourselves, right? Like as humans, we ourselves have our own self-fulfilling prophecy. We have our own things that we say about ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots to talk about moms and women and body confidence and shaming and like, oh, what kind of word or languages are you using around your kids?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going on a diet every week and your kids are watching you go on a diet, low carb, high fat, keto, whatever,
right.
or they see that you're unhappy with yourself all the time, then do they start to, you know, really the biggest piece of this puzzle is how we model our behavior so that what our kids are always watching. So I'm going to get to that in a second, but in the article, I had come up with 5 pieces. Oh, thanks for all the hearts, people. I came up with 5 things that you can use to remember to keep thinking about making slight changes in your family that might help your kids. And this goes for teenagers. This goes for toddlers. This goes for youth. Again, I don't think it's ever too late to change. No. And one of the articles I wrote recently about the teenage brain and about the amount of massive change that happens in teenagers. And I remember this also from a parent participation preschool speaker letting us know that, you know, from 0 to 5, you have huge amount of change.
I remember that one. Yes.
You were there, right?
Yes.
And then the guy came in talking about teenage brains. I don't know if it was a guy or a girl, a speaker. And they were saying that it's not over. Like just because your child has poor behavior at like as a 10-year-old or whatever, that you have another chance when they are becoming teenagers, because that's another massive growth, not in the size of their brain I talk about, but in the connections from the different parts of the brains to different parts, and that you are a huge influence on your teenager. And peers obviously are, because they're spending a lot of time with their peers as well. But if you can keep yourself inserted in your relationship with your teens, then you can be one of those people that are also having a huge influence on your teen's brain. The other piece of that was, I talked about in that article, was a little bit about how important it is when they're teenagers to keep them involved in things.
Yes.
Like it's a perfect time for them to start, like whether it's, I know it's going to sound kind of nerdy, but like a science camp or a math camp, but like that there's, if you can get them involved in something that they might find interesting, whether it's a summer camp right now because it's summertime, whether it's a book and in that way, reading something that they can get interested in, that you can help them shape that through their teenagehood. And that's exciting to me because it gives you another chance as a parent to really make a big difference and help guide them, because you only have them for a few years left.
The people that I think have been really successful doing that with their kids are our ex-cheerleaders, who I always say to their parents, even still, let me know what you did because your children turned out amazing, like Carly and Sashi. Like,
we're naming some people now.
Naming some people.
Summerfeld?
Yeah, just because they had many kids.
Yeah.
The Tucks, right? Like, what did they do? And I think I know for sure part of what they did is that they stayed involved in their kids' lives. They kept them busy. They were one of the people that, as teenagers, I remember them saying they looked up to their parents. They still wanted to hear what their parents thought about these things, which I thought, as a person when I was a kid who didn't want to hear anything from my parents, was really awesome. Like totally different than what I did. And I'm like, I need to do that with my kids and figure out how to.
Right. And so that kind of goes into the next piece. So there were 5 things that I talk about in the, this latest blog post, which is on lazyparenting.ca, is 5 ideas. So the number 1, which is I think pretty straightforward, is the positive words with our children, and really using positive language to try and build them up and give them a positive outlook and all of that. So instead, we talk about this in our coaching. We talk about this when we just deal with kids all the time. We see our own children in sports and coaches is positive coaching, positive voice, helping the kids develop that. So that's one of them. The second one was, and we've talked a lot about this as well, is the ability to get through mistakes and failures and know that that's part of the process. And so just because you fail doesn't mean you suck as a kid, right? But like that's what kids are like, I fail, I can't do it, I'm terrible. Well, no, those are all opportunities to try again, to develop resiliency, to develop persistence and patience, that things take time, and how can you get through that process. And so watching your kids fall or fail And then how can you teach them that that's okay, that that's part of the process. Let's move on and then get through to the other end instead of being negative with them.
I think a lot of people have a hard time of letting it go and moving on. Like saying, okay, that was a mistake. It's over with. How can we fix it for next time? And then moving on versus always coming back saying,
oh, you mean like holding grudges.
Yeah.
So, right. So
or holding it against them.
Or even like this idea with Katie losing her goggles. Like, how long in that day did I keep saying, well, yeah, you lost your goggles.
Right.
Well, yeah, you're forgetful, right? Rather than, okay, we deal with it at the moment, take the time at the moment and talk about, well, why is it important? They cost money. You're showing disrespect, you're showing negligence, those sorts of things. What are we going to do? Give them strategies on how they can fix it. Like, what are we going to do to ensure that that doesn't happen? Like for her, she puts them in her pocket, and can we put them in your backpack afterwards every time? Or, if they're going in your pocket, make sure they're in your pocket. Like whatever your strategy is, obviously they need your help. Like you can't expect the kids to fix these things on their own. No. They need your guidance and your help and your understanding. And so that's a piece of it as well. But not then once it's over and done, it's done. Like the mistake was done. You wouldn't want somebody in your relationship, like if you're married, your husband always bringing up something that you did, because we all have them. I have many things I have done that are questionable. Whether it's around spending money on weird things or just ways I've reacted, overreacted to situations in the family that I would never want people to be bringing back up. I get it. I made a mistake. Let's move on. So I think that's awesome. So that's number 2. Number 3 was having high expectations on your kids and not lowering your expectations to their behavior, but having high expectations and then celebrating those moments when they rise to your expectations. So again, celebrating the victories. There will be failures along the way, but not focusing on those, rather celebrating when they meet your expectations. And that's a big one, right? Finding them when they're doing good, right?
Yes.
Okay, so number 1 was positive words. Number 2 was the mistakes and failure. Number 3 was having high expectations. Number 4, I like this one a lot. And I don't know if I do this, but I think I try, is the overhearing, like the eavesdropping. So
go ahead.
So if you were talking, because kids are always around. Some of my kids hang around a lot.
Yes.
I feel like
your oldest do a lot.
Well, and even my little ones do too. They're always around. And so if you have friends over and you're talking, how are you talking about your children in front of them, but they don't really know, like they're not really a part of the conversation. So they're around, they're kind of eavesdropping. How are you speaking about them? Are you like, same as with your marriage? Yeah. Are you the kind of wife or husband who complains about your spouse when they're not around to your girlfriends? And I would caution you that that's not a great strategy, that you really can't do that. It breaks the trust in the relationship, and it breaks, it just wears down the marriage. And so a big rule we have, and I have in my marriage, is I try never to disrespect my husband in front of anybody else. And so if I have a problem with him, or if he's done something, he and I will hash it out, but I try not to ever complain to you about it or to other people about it either. So same goes for your kids. If they're listening in the background and they hear you constantly complaining about them or about what they're doing or what they've done, or using those key words when you're describing them, then that can be that's them seeing how you are showing them to the world. So instead, what if you talked about all the great things that they did and they overheard you, and they know you're not just telling it to them because you're trying to build them up, but you're actually telling other people how awesome your kids are. Right? Yeah,
I do. And I also think that a lot of times if you're talking with somebody and you're using secret codes and your kids are still around, the kids aren't stupid. They know that you're talking about them. Riley will call me on it sometimes, whether it doesn't matter if I'm saying something good or whatever, but they know. And so that, I fully agree about talking poorly. You might have your one friend that you might complain to about a few things, but talking to everybody about your husband or your kids is also not good for you, because then you start, it just weighs on you.
And try never to be negative, right? Yeah. It's not going to help anything. So at all. So that was number 4. And I just thought that was an interesting one. What are your kids overhearing you say about them? And what is that doing to develop or mold their self-concept of themselves? And then number 5 was what we were talking about, which was modeling the characters and the behaviors. So this is going back to what I was talking about if you're a mom who is going on diets all the time or watching what you eat in a really compulsive kind of way, they're watching, even though you say to them, oh, you're beautiful, you're lovely, but you're saying about yourself that you're negative on your own body, or you're negative about some trait that you have, whether it's you're so messy, or oh, I can't get this, I'm so disorganized, or little words that you're using in your own brain that are negative. Your kids are watching how you treat yourself, and that is how they begin to learn how to treat other people and to treat themselves. And so that's a big one. And so that one is taking me into another concept of something called intention cues. I was listening to a podcast from Brendan Bouchard. I don't know if anybody knows who he is, but he's like a big business podcaster, habits, high performance habits, things like that. And he was talking about relationships and about intention cues. And the idea about if I were to, so this is going to go 2 pieces. One is about ourselves. So if I were to say to you, what are 5 words that your people around you would use to describe you? You don't have to answer if you don't want to. So what are words that you would you think people would say about you? Like how do people perceive you? What is the words that they are what would they use to describe you? And if you think about those words, and are those words that you want them to be using to describe you, or are those words that you really would rather them not be using to describe you?
I would say half and half. Okay.
And so then I was thinking about this as a parent. So what words would you hope that your children, well, I guess hope and actual. So if I was to go out there right now and ask Riley, because she's out jumping on the trampoline, if I were to say, Rue, give me 3 words that describe your mom. What would she say? And I did this with my kids, and I was very upset with the answers.
Oh no!
So, I can't remember what they were. I wrote them down, but again, I feel like my kids were being a little bit smart alecky about it, because it was Nick that I was asking. But asking them like 3 words, right? 3 words that they would use to describe you, and then thinking about those words. If you in your own brain then can what are 3 words that you want people to think of when they think of you? So what are the top 3 words that you want people who you come into contact with on a daily basis to think of when they see you, or that you would want to be on your epitaph or on your tombstone? There was only 3 words to describe John, or 3 words to describe Stephanie. What would those be? And then his idea is that this is how you want to lead with intention. So you want to live with the intention of these 3 words with everybody that you meet. And he even does a thing where he sets reminders in his phone. I might actually try this, because I feel like
I've been writing on my hand that one word that I talked to you about from the Girl Wash Your Facebook that word. I've written it on my hand so that I remember that that's how I want to be.
Okay. And so his idea was on your phone, because you always have your phone with you, is to set reminders in your phone. So 3 times a day. So 10 a.m., 2 p.m., 8 p.m. or something. I don't know, 10, right. Whatever you want to do. And that they just pop up on your phone, whether that's kindness, compassion, empathy, I don't know, positivity, I don't know, whatever the words are that you feel like you want to be presenting to the world. And again, I think they would change over time. I feel like depending on where you're at in your life and what, patience, if you're a mom of little people, right? You would want, because really, who are you seeing in a daily basis? It's mostly your children that you're seeing and your husband. And so maybe patience is a word. So that would pop up, patience. Okay, yeah. And then, you might be in a thing with your child and you'd be like, okay, yeah, right, patience, or compassion, or understanding, right? As a young mother of young ones, I mean, heck, even as a mom of teenagers, I'm thinking that those are the words that should come up right now based on some stuff that has been happening in my house over the weekend, like patience, compassion. And so that's one thing. So what are 3 words? And then you have a reminder, have them pop up on your phone, and try and live your life, go through the day being reminded about how you want others to perceive you. I think that's gold. I love that idea. The second piece of this, and the last piece that I'll talk about today, is if you think of your children. So this goes back to the beginning of this live. I talked about if you were to think of your children, I'm going to do this as a parent. So I have 4 kids. So if I were to think of each child, what is 1 word or a short phrase? But I think 1 word is easier. What's 1 word I would use to set the intention that I want with my relationship with that child? at this moment in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can think of one of my children, and just this weekend, one I might choose would be maybe something like understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So my intention with when I see that child's face and I look into their eyes, Brendan Bouchard talks about like when you see the person, you can look into the whites of their eyes. What is the cue that kind of comes to your head? How can you get it to be remembering, to get it to come forward? So if you look at that child, the first thing you should be thinking of is, let's say for this child would be like understanding.
Yeah.
Like, is that what I said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There's 4 of them. Sometimes I
Right.
get confused. Okay. So would be understanding. So when and it's not what they are, it's my intention for setting the relationship that I want to have.
Yeah.
I want to be understanding of where this child is at, what is going on with them, and try to reach them at that point.
I can see how that, when I think of Nate, my little one, about if I had my word for him, and if I looked at him every time, how that would just automatically change the way we interacted in a more positive way.
Right. Like,
yeah.
It kind of goes back to what I said at the beginning. Like, if you were to think of a word to describe each of your children, I mean, hopefully there'll be positive words, just like you hope your children will have positive words to describe you. But depending on where you're at, the reality is it might be a negative word. It might be, difficult or stubborn, or I don't know, like any kind of word. Hopefully, but if we can set the intention. And so if we're trying to build a positive relationship with our children, and as parents of teens, this is a big one too, right? When you look at your teen and they're on their phone or they're zoned out, what can you set as your intention cue or your intention word that when you speak to them or you ask them to get off their phone, like how can you do it in such a way that you're coming at it in a positive way?
Yeah.
I think those 2 pieces of information are gold.
You deserve an Emmy for this.
Well, it wasn't mine. I took it from somebody, but I think that they're related to parenting because he talks a lot about business and your relationships with your business. But as a parent, just how we set our intention with our children each and every day, and our spouses, don't forget about them because they're a big part of this.
Yes.
How can we approach them in such a way that we try to ensure a positive interaction?
Yeah, I'm going to start today.
And it's not easy. I think it's like all habits. It's all a habit. But I mean, if you have one child, I think it's a little bit like you can just think of one word. I have to think of 4 words.
So 5 plus Chris.
Plus my husband. So yeah, that's all, and my cats. No,
your cats.
I'm not gonna get mad at them every time they miss the litter box.
Yes.
So 5. So you need to think of your words.
Yeah.
That's one piece, and then the other piece I think you should take from today. Hopefully, if you like these ideas, give me some hearts or some likes because I think that these are neat ideas and valuable things that you can take and implement into your family dynamics and into your relationships that you have as well.
I agree.
Yeah. So if you're joining late, go back and watch from the beginning. We talked about the 5 pieces of advice I have from my blog post this week about self-fulfilling prophecy with children. And then I threw that in. I followed up at the end of this blog with this video. I followed up with the idea of intention cues and words. So how people perceive us and then how we approach a relationship or an interaction with people in our lives, starting with a positive outlook, like a positive word, a word that we want to set for that intention. What's my word going to be for you? So that's it. That's what we have. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and we'll see you. I'll see you on Thursday.
Look at Kelly. She's like, they're always watching.
They are. They're always watching, Kelly.
Yeah.
So and they're watching everything we do. So I really enjoyed your comment back on I think it was on Facebook that you wrote a comment about how it was timely for you and your relationship with your kids and what's going on right now.
Yeah.
So that's it, everybody.
Okay. See you on Thursday.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.